Welcome back to another Film Geek movie review. Today, after the old day job, I am off to check out the new thriller, Inheritance. So what's the plot of this film? It tells the story of a woman who, right after her mother's death, finds out that her father is a spy and she gets all caught up in his spy stuff. This movie is very intriguing to me. It is directed by Neil Berger and it's starring Phoebe Dynevor. And the reason why this movie is really intriguing is because the entire film is filmed on an iPhone. And they also use guerrilla filming techniques. They would just go to a location and try to shoot as fast as humanly possible. No retakes, no redos, just get in there, get the work done, and get out before anybody knows what you're doing. So needless to say, I am very intrigued to find out how this movie goes. So it's enough of me sitting here jibber-jabbering on. First off, I gotta get to the old day job, and then I'm off to check out Inheritance! Welcome back, just getting home from Inheritance, and guys, I really enjoyed this movie, but I do think there's some things about this film that's not really going to set with some people. So let's get this started, shall we? We're going to get things started with negatives, then move into the positives, then end the video on the ever so important high note. Now, in the intro of this, I said that this film was completely filmed on an iPhone, and while I do applaud the filmmakers for using something like that, in basically showing young filmmakers, hey, guess what? You have a perfectly good camera in your pocket, take it out and start filming a movie. And I like the positivity that you see in the film from using an iPhone. And there's also some shots in this movie, which I'll get to in the positive section, that I feel could not have been done with anything else but an iPhone. But all in all, unfortunately, the way that this movie was filmed seemed very limited. And also, if you're somebody who gets a little bit of seasick, I'm not saying there's a lot of shaky cam in this film, but there is some floaty cam in this movie. So that itself could kind of disorientate you a little bit. Also, it almost feels like this movie was done in like one continuous shot. There's a lot of spots where the film just zips around to a character, then zips around to another character, kind of like you yourself, the viewer, is like turning your head back and forth, and the way you would see it, because again, they're not taking shot between shot with different cameras, they're just using an iPhone. So the film does come off a bit limited in the cinematography, even though there's some neat tricks that they use. There's a lot of moments in this movie where I really wish they would have had another camera available to use, because this is a slightly globe-trotting, type of spy film, and it does go to some locations that I really wish we could have gotten a much wider angle lens to really see the environment and all that our characters are in, but at the same time, it kind of fits the vibe of the film, keeping everything small and intimate. It's just basically your own preference on this. This movie has a lot of up-in-your-face style shots. In fact, there is an entire chase sequence that is pretty much done with what I think was an iPhone on some kind of crane device. The entire time, which I'll get to mostly in the positives because I like the way it was, the camera itself was completely on our main character's face, and then the chase sequence was pretty much going on behind her, and I really loved the effect of it, but at the same time, I feel more of the action traditionalists are really not going to like the scene much at all, because this movie is a little on the slow side. Not necessarily boring, but this movie is a bit of a slow burn. It's more of what you would consider a traditional spy film. This is not James Bond or Mission Impossible or anything like that. This is a very grounded in reality type of story, the kind of spy business that probably really happens in the real world. You have somebody who hacks into a system, gets some information, and then that information has to be handed off to somebody else. That's what we have in this film here. There's a lot of great elements, but all in all, if you're somebody who's expecting some big action-packed spy flick, this is probably not going to be your cup of tea. But if you want to watch something that has a very intriguing cinematography and a story that's very grounded in reality with a great lead actor, then this is definitely going to be the film for you. So let's get into the positives, shall we? Let's talk a little bit about that car chase sequence, okay? There is a scene in the film that I absolutely love because for me, I thought it was a really cool technique that they used. I'm pretty sure that they attached their cell phone to a gimbal or something, and our lead actor was holding onto it, or it was attached to the motorcycle in some way. But there's a really cool chase sequence where she's sitting on the back of a motorcycle and someone's driving her around and they're trying to get away from somebody, right? That's a chase sequence. I don't want to give too much away in this. I just want to give the filmmaker a little shout out on it. I thought it was a very cool and unique way to utilize the iPhone and still get a pretty cool chase sequence into the movie without having tons of cameras all along the streets, having to shut things down in order to do this kind of shot. I thought it was amazing. Oh, I forgot to put this. This isn't necessarily a negative. This is a mix. Let me put it that way. One of the things I noticed while I was watching this film, and I just think there's no way that the filmmakers could have possibly fix this problem whatsoever, and that is our background people. Now, as I said, this was done in a guerrilla filming style, so the people in the background, they may have been told what was going on, or maybe they weren't. So there's some scenes where they're filming it on location, and if you look in the background, you'll see a couple of people that are just sitting there staring, pointing. I definitely noticed somebody who pointed over at them when they were doing all this. So just try not to pay too much awful attention to the background. But there's one scene in particular that there is just no freaking way you're going to be able to not notice it. There's a conversation in a cafe, and one of the, I can't really call him an extra, I'm going to call him a bystander, is at another table, and this dude will not stop staring at them. He's just sitting there. His face is like right in between the two of our characters talking, and he's just sitting there like this is a tennis match. He's like, it was distracting and funny at the same time. I just tried to ignore it. So I'm warning you guys, when you go see this film, if you see this film, try not to pay too much attention to the background. It might take you out of the film for a little bit. The acting in this movie is absolutely phenomenal. Our lead actor, Phoebe Dynevor, does an extremely good job in this film, and she is pretty much on screen for the entire movie. In fact, yes, she is on screen for the entire movie and does an excellent, excellent job in this role. She does a really good job of a character who has absolutely no idea what's going on, but really needs to use her wits about her to try to figure out what the hell and how to get out of this situation. Who can she trust? Apparently, not a lot. And I really enjoyed the way this movie was put together. All in all, guys, I would have to say, unless you're a person who really, really loves an intriguing, slow burn-ish spy film, this might be the movie for you. But if you're someone who likes the bigger Hollywood action style spy film, I don't think you're going to find a lot in this movie. And I also think that unless you're a super fan, this might necessarily be a theatrical movie, again with the limitations in the cinematography by using an iPhone. It's pretty visible up on the big screen, but I do think that if you were watching this at home, it would translate absolutely perfect to a TV. All in all, very solid watch. If you're a big fan of this type of genre, like myself, you're going to find a lot in this movie. You're going to have a really good time. It's slightly predictable, but at the same time, I didn't really hurt it because it didn't really hurt the film too awful much because it is really grounded in reality, so you're not going to get a lot of big blowout moments. So if you're a fan of this, definitely get out there and support this movie in theaters. If it sounds like something you would rather stream at home, give it a shot, stream it at home, but this movie definitely deserves a watch if not for anything but to check out the fact that this movie was filmed entirely on an iPhone, to give you the idea of knowing that in your pocket, you have yourself a full-on movie studio. Alright guys, well thanks again for checking out the Film Geek. If you liked what you saw here today, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, ring that bell for notifications, and give me the old thumbs up so I know you like what you're seeing. And if there's one more thing you can do, folks, that is keep watching movies. You know I'm gonna.